Today we're going to be talking about archers and what are the best archer pairings in the game. First, what we're going to talk about is the best archer commanders and what you should be investing into first. So like I said, first we want to talk about what are the best archer commanders that we should be looking into investing to. So obviously the number one, I don't even think it's Boudica anymore. I think the number one is Zhuge. I think he is the number one priority for archer players in Rise of Kingdoms and players in general. I think everybody should be expertising Zhuge or at least bringing him to 5551. I think that is an absolute must-have. And next here, we're going to have Boudica Prime. I think this is an obvious one here as well. So Boudica Prime is an obvious number two, and mainly because she's just so strong. She's still one of the best commanders in the game, even though Zhuge kind of overtakes her, but she is an amazing pairing with Zhuge. And we'll be talking about pairings here later, but I would say the number three commander in the open field right now is probably going to be Henry. I think Henry is a phenomenal commander. I think he has a lot of flexibility, but like I said, I think Zhuge and Boudica are still a little bit better, but having Henry in that lineup opens up your ability for, open field fighting, for having an insane amount of tankiness, just pairings in general. So Henry is also an amazing commander here as well. So when we talk about pairings, what we're going to talk about today is going to have one pairing of archers, two pairings of archers, and then top three pairings of archers. So basically what that means is the one march is if you are only running one archer march in the field. The two march is if you are only running two archer marches, and maybe you're running a cavalry and an infantry in there as well. And then the third option is going to be if you're running three archer marches in the open field, what those marches should look like and what your options are. So first of all, what I want to talk about is that archers in the open field are really, really good, but I would caution you in having three or more archer marches in the field. And the reason why is just because cavalry is so good in the open field, and it's just so hard to, keep your archers alive because they're typically a first target. So you have to be aware of that your archers are going to get targeted like crazy. In this KVK, my Boudica Zhuge has been obviously the first target every single time, gets melted all the way down. So make sure you're aware of that. If you're running multiple archer marches, you're probably going to have to pay a bigger hospital bill. You're going to have a lot more resources available. You're going to need a lot more speed ups here as well. So you have to make sure you have those resources and speed ups. Otherwise, you're kind of screwing yourself by running so many archer marches. But without further ado, we're going to talk about the number one archer march in the game right now, what you should be running if you're only running one archer march. And in my opinion, that is going to be Boudica and Zhuge. I think this is the best option for Zhuge. I think there are other options available, but I think the overall number one option is going to be Boudica Zhuge. I think this is going to be the best performing. It doesn't have the most amount of tankiness. It is a huge target, but I still think it is still the best option for you if you're only running one archer march. Plus, that it opens up availability because if you already have YSG expertise, you can still run Boudica YSG until you have your Zhuge expertise, or vice versa. If you only have Zhuge expertise, you can run Zhuge. You can run Zhuge with YSG until you have Boudica expertise. You kind of have that availability to move those commanders around, and that way you can get to the ultimate pairing of Boudica and Zhuge. Now, if you're running two archer marches, that kind of opens things up a little bit. So if you're running two archer marches, what I would run would be Boudica and Henry. So like I said before, Henry's going to be thrown in here. So Boudica, Henry, and then we're going to run Nebu primary with a Zhuge secondary. And I think Nebu with Zhuge is probably the next closest to Boudica Zhuge because, Nebu still has that AoE. He's also a lot tankier. So you have that double AoE, you have the tankiness that Zhuge needs. So I think this is also a really, really good option. You probably could also run Nebu Zhuge, but the reason why I put Boudica is because a lot of people already have Boudica expertise, so it's a little bit easier to pair these together, and the synergy is just so good. But like I said, if it's targeted, it's going to melt pretty quick. So if you are worried about that and you're worried about resources, Nebu Zhuge is going to be a really solid choice as well that you could run instead of the Boudica Zhuge. But for our two march lineup, we are going to be running Nebu with Zhuge and then Boudica and Henry. Those are our two pairs for the open field. Now for three marches, that's going to open things up a little bit more. So for three marches, we're going to move things around a little bit again. So for three, we're going to be running Boudica with Artemisia. Boudica Artie is amazing. This is an amazing lineup. I think this is probably one of the best archer pairs in the game. I'd say probably top 3 or 4 in the game right now. So Boudica Artemisia has tons of synergy. You're going to have Boudica Artie. And then for our second one, we're going to have Nebu and Henry. So we're going to run Nebu primary, Henry secondary. It's going to be insanely tanky, do tons of damage. And then for our last one, we're going to be running Zhuge and YSG. And this one, I would really hesitate a little bit more unless you were in the Siege of Orleans KVK. And the reason why I say that is because in the Siege of Orleans KVK, you have auxiliary skills. And these auxiliaries do tons of help for your marches. So for example, on my Boudica, I have my Edward for 25% health and 25% march speed. I have El Cid for 20% defense and 15% march speed. And then I have Sun Tzu for 20% increased skill damage. So these skills for auxiliaries do tons of work for your marches and allow you to be a lot tankier. And so I would hesitate to run Zhuge Liang and YSG in a normal KVK, like a heroic anthem, unless, like I said, like you have bastions or something like that really help out. But in a normal situation, Zhuge YSG is probably the squishiest march in the game. Also extremely slow, doesn't have a lot of march speed. So I would hesitate a little bit running this unless, like I said, you have a lot of resources. If you are extremely tanky, I'd probably put your best set of gear on this march here as well, just because it's going to need the extra help. And then on top of that, making sure you are being conscious about your marches in the field and making sure your Zhuge is protected. And so that just depends on how you're fighting as well in the murder ball. But Zhuge YSG is going to be a really great march. I know a lot of whales that use it, and it performs really, really well, unless it gets absolutely melted. And obviously it's going to be the truth with any march. Like I said before, my Boudica Zhuge gets melted fast, especially if it's targeted, 12x surrounded. Then it really sucks. But like I said before, the top 3 marches that I would recommend would be Boudica with Artemisia. And then next would be Nebu and Henry. And then finally, it would be Zhuge and YSG. So these would be the top 3 marches. For the 2 march, I would run Boudica and Henry. And then I would run Nebu and Zhuge Liang. And then for the 1 march, I would either run Boudica Zhuge or Nebu Zhuge. These are going to be your top 1, top 2, and top 3 marches that I would recommend if you are running archers in the open field. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this video and what pairings you love to use in the open field for your archers. Thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you guys later.